Well, you sure got, as you've probably seen, Fox News is just going crazy trying to defend and back off and define and rearrange. Because Trump is guilty. Over 400 federal prosecutors have reacted to, and are in agreement that just what they've seen and been able to see of the Mueller report so far convicts Trumpy boy he's guilty. He's guilty of felony, repeated felonies. Right there. So, of course, Trumpy boy is desperately trying to stop the release of the full Mueller report. And, of course, he's got this hand-picked, right-wing nut, William Barr, as his attorney general, who's going to try and join him in his criminality and obstruct justice. Yeah, it's typical Republican. We forget that we're on this 45-year anniversary right here. 45 years ago, Nixon was being squeezed out of the presidency for all his criminality. And here we are, the 45th president. Trumpy boy is a criminal. Now, you've heard this Fox and these other right-wing nuts are just trying to say, well, it's Justice Department policy to not indict a sitting president. And so they're using that as if that's some impediment, if that can stop them. When it's NISTA policy, it's not law, it's just a policy. So policy can be changed what the situation deems, necessary, and this time is pretty necessary. Because Trump is such a vast criminal. He's got over what? How many thousand lies, just overt lies, they already got him on. In his speeches, his talks, his statements to the press, he's just a complete lying machine. He's just a liar. That's all, We haven't seen such an overt idiot of liar, deceiver, criminality as we see with Trump. Now, everybody's trying to say, the Republican apologists are trying to say, oh, but he's just an anomaly. Trump is an anomaly. No, he isn't. He is the Republican Party. What's the real situation of the Republican Party? The real Republican Party are criminals, corporate criminals, just like Trump. And they are the money behind the Republican Party. And they want to wipe out every block, every hindrance to them poisoning and polluting the whole planet so that they can keep making their billions of dollars. Even though it's poisoning and polluting your water supply, your air, your kids, they don't care. They just want the money. That's Republican. That's the real money behind what is the real money of the Republican Party. Then you got the loud, noisy part of the Republican Party that is the distraction. But they rely on them. The Republican rich guys rely on them, and those big Republican corporations are, definitely funding the noise of the Republican Party. Who's the noise? Who's the noise? The Christian fascists. The Christian right-wing nuts. That's the one part of it. Every right-wing nut out here that's Republican, that's them. The gun nuts, the bomb anything, America first, oh, Jesus, poison, but, the people who are scared of women's rights, the guys who want to repress homosexual rights, all this stuff, religious or not based, just, that's their attitude. Well, that's the Republicans. All the racists, Ku Klux Klan, the Nazis, the white supremacists. They're all in the Republican Party. That's the noise out there. And as you know, Trump is a racist, of course. You know that from his background. And he was part of the birther thing that we all just conveniently overlook here. That was these racist guys who just started that Obama wasn't an American citizen. He was supposedly not an American citizen. They were so desperate to try and keep a black man from being president that the racists were looking for any excuse. And so they came up that, well, he's not really an American. And Trumpy boy was part of that racist thing too, as well as other things in his family background. Well, there you go. That's the Republican Party noise. The noise. So you got the corporate criminals, just like Trump, and they're exemplified by Trump, and you got the noise factor of the Republican Party, the wing nuts, the right-wing nuts out there, right? And that's the Pence side of it, the Vice President Pence. Because he's the Christian wacko. He's the repress women's rights. He's, wants to, evidently, he's pretty bitter about homosexuals too, and wants to destroy homosexuals. That's Pence, That's the wing nut. That is the Republican Party. And of course, since Trumpy boy is such an overt criminal, now, at the time of this recording, it's only been a few days ago, New York Times came out with, 10 years of Trump's taxes, and they showed that Trumpy boy was losing money to the tune of over $1 billion. $1 billion. And he's busy trying to borrow money from banks to try and, stop this drain and collapse that's going on. And one of the banks that we keep hearing about and justifiably have to get information out of as well about Trump finances is Deutsche Bank in Germany. And the Deutsche Bank finally said, no more money, Trumpy boy, you're a loser. It is cash, you're bleeding money over here. Well, Trump figured out that he could then swing over to some other section or division or something of Deutsche Bank, and he got them to loan him more money. And he kept losing. Isn't it so? I know, he came out and said, and right-wing nuts in Fox News were trying to say, oh, Trump, he's such a good businessman that running the country, he'll be just a cinch. He's just a, gosh, look at him, he's a multimillionaire, gosh. And we find out, of course, once again, usual thing with Trump, that's a fraud. That's a lie. Again. Oh, here he is. You hear the chant starting to build in the background. That should be, whenever he shows up someplace, at one of these rally things or something, should be what people are doing behind. They should be going, lock Trump up. Lock Trump up. Lock Trump up. Shouldn't we? That's the chant for this guy. He's so a stain on America's history. It's appalling. It's appalling. And of course, technically he won the election, right? Because of this leftover weirdness called the Electoral College. Otherwise, he lost by over 3 million votes. Over 3 million. And that's, in government that we have, that's the real decision. You voting to be not only president, Senate, and your House of Representatives, your governors, your state legislators. It's your vote. Not this antiquated thing that was the Electoral College that's kind of a residue from the slave era. That alone should give it the reason to be thrown out anyway. And all that stuff is just managed there. He just somehow, he lost the election, but the technicality got him in, type of thing. And now we're seeing the disaster and slime that really is not only Trump, but the whole Republican Party. They're all like Trump. They're all racist. They're all trying to block African American citizens, Latino American citizens in particular, from voting. And they've been doing it for years. Trying here recently all sorts of ways to justify, and all the effect is what they're after is to block American citizens from voting. See, that's not just politics anymore, folks. They're trying to block you from voting. That's a criminal act. Well, that's the Republican Party. And that's where all those white racists are. The Ku Klux Klan, the Confederacy right-wing nuts, the Nazis, the white supremacists, all of them, there they are, Republican Party. As well as, that's where the Pence-type wackos are, all the Christian nuts, who are Christian fascists, who want to just implement their version of Sharia law in America. You hear them talk about it, when they say, you can't have Islamic Sharia law. Oh, no, and you can't have it in America. Well, here you got these Christian nuts trying to do Christian Sharia law in America. Want to continue to try and find some justification legally to bounce around something so they can keep homosexuals from having equal rights. They keep moving around some way so they keep women from having equal rights, equal pay. So they can keep women from making their own health care decisions about abortion and birth control. Fascists. Christian fascists is what they are. Basing the whole thing on religion. But because there's a technicality, they can't say that in there directly, can they? They can't put that in any of their legislative efforts. They'll just throw it out because we have separation of church and state. So they've been busy. Oh, so busy. Trying to figure out other ways to make it sound somehow plausible that you can't get an abortion. Somehow you're defending the unborn. These terms that come up are just lunatic stuff. Desperate. Repressive. Vile, actually, aren't they? And they're in the Republican Party. That's the Republicans. Here's Trumpy boy. He's guilty. You're saying it. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock Trump up. Lock Trump up. Everywhere he goes. Lock him up. Lock Trump up. Sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds true because it is true. Pull any trick they can come up with. Desperate. Try and hide off who Trump really is. How can he hold back his taxes? There's no justification for it. And he tells us, everything in his taxes is good. He tells us that it's just, everything. Well, if that's the case, show us the taxes. Show what you've done here with Trump Enterprises. Who are you? Because technically, folks, all these guys work for you. They're an employee of you. President, Senate, House, doesn't matter. Governor, state legislature. You're paying their salary. They're an employee of you. You should know who they are. And the financial statement should be a mandatory thing. Of course, we got to know Who are you tied to? Are you in debt to the mafia like Trump is? Are you in debt to all sorts of banks like Trump is? Are you in massive debt to other scurrilous groups? And so you're, giving them advantage in legislation? Payback? We have to know. You got to know who it is you're getting electing to be in your representative in government. That's how it works here in this system. It's something really amazing that you're living right now to see it and understand it. 45 years ago, this was very similar to Nixon. The other Republican criminal, one of 6 in a row, by the way. Here's Nixon, 45 years ago, was also reaching the point of getting impeached for his vast criminality. And he had his Attorney General, John Mitchell, coming up with all sorts of lies and scams and whatnot to try and block the impeachment and the information about the criminality of Nixon. And Mitchell got convicted too, Look it up yourself. And here's the modern day version of Nixon. It's spun around in a 45-year cycle, and we got another Republican that's a vast criminal in Trumpy boy. And we got the new John Mitchell in William Barr. 45 years ago. Trump is the 45th president. 45. It's come around again. And it's Republican. Lock him up. Lock Trump up. Lock Trump up. It starts to be a chant everywhere.